The number one rule is if I call, I listen. If they call, I coach.
Welcome everybody to the How to Sell Insurance podcast. I'm Ryan Federico, joined by Grant Lieber and our special guest, Alek Mires from the DTX, coming through. Today we are talking about a giant tool, and
Which is not me.
I'm not talking about you, but a tool from the leadership development company Giant Worldwide. And that tool is called the Support Challenge Matrix. And it's been incredibly instrumental in my business. And it's been incredibly instrumental in Alek's business and Grant's as well. That's why we're going to be talking about it today. So what is the Support Challenge Matrix? Support Challenge Matrix, if you think about it as a cross, there's two axes. And on one end, you have high support and low support. On the other end, you have high challenge and low challenge. And I think the most effective leaders use this tool. They're calibrating when to use support and when to use challenge. And I know for me, when I first came into growing a team or bringing on salespeople or developing leaders, it was very difficult because I like to live in high challenge. And when you live in high challenge, low support, that's dominating. And people can walk away feeling overworked and undervalued and tired and worn and just absolutely burnt out. On the opposite end, what I was afraid of was if I just gave all this support and never challenged anybody, it'd be like momming people to death, right? And I would just be loving on them and not calling them up to a higher accountability level. And that was really challenging for me becoming a leader, where I needed to learn how to balance those two. When somebody needed support, when somebody needed challenge. The last interaction I had with this person, did I give them support? Maybe this interaction, I need to give them challenge. Maybe the last interaction was very challenging and I need to reach out and give some extra support to this person to let them know that I love them and that I have their back or something like that. So again, I think the best leaders calibrate balancing support and challenge. And when you are giving no support and no challenge to people, you end up doing what's called abdication, where you're just kind of like, oh, whatever, send me an email. I don't really care. I don't really have the courage to address this with you, that what we need to talk about. And so I'm just going to kind of ignore you. And that's an area where we want to keep you out of. So I'd love to just kind of hear from our guest, Alek Mires, about his experience learning about the Support Challenge Matrix. How did you find out about it? When did you start using it? What are some of the challenges that you've had with it? And let's hear it, man.
Yeah. So first of all, very thankful that I'm here having this conversation with you guys. So thanks for having me on. And the Support Challenge Matrix is sort of a tool within a tool. It's a tool that plugs into the Developing Others Square within Giant TV. So I first learned about this a handful of years ago. Carl Miller did a leadership package for a lot of the agency owners and said, hey, we want to give you some time with a performance coach. And I was introduced to Brian Williamson at the time. Grant and I both had some sessions with him. That's when this was first introduced to me in the Developing Others Square, and how to develop agents and how to get agents activated within it, and really with any kind of industry, getting them to learn something new. So just really quick, the Developing Others Square, the top part of it is you don't know anything, but you're excited, right? And then the second side of that is, I'm going to do and you're going to watch. So if you were my agent, I would do, you would watch. And then on the bottom side is you do, I help. So now you, the agent, are doing, and I'm helping assist with execution. And there's a pendulum that goes back and forth there between I do, you watch, and you do, I help. And in the corner down there, in between that pendulum is the pit of despair, where just about anyone who tries anything new is going to eventually find themselves in the pit of despair. So what do we do when we have an agent in the pit of despair? Well, some people need support, some people need challenge. And that's where we get the Support Challenge Matrix. So the Support Challenge Matrix, everyone's goal, if they're using that tool, should want to be up in the top right-hand quadrant, which is liberation. We want to bring opportunity to people. We want to, put people in their lane and give them tools to succeed. For example, if you or someone who is a guardian, I don't know how much of the language, 5-voice language you use on the podcast, guardian being more about processes, more about professionalism, etc. If you were to liberate a guardian, the way you would do that would be asking questions about process, because guardians are very process driven. They value professionalism. They want you to know they're competent, and you know what I mean? And so for them, in order to liberate them, you got to get their engines going. Nurturers, on the other hand, is you got to get to know them. They don't need, hey, you need to go out and make 100 dials. They don't need, hey, you need to go out and write 10 grand. They need, hey, how's the family? How's the kids? How's business? How are you? You know what I mean? So I think when you're using the tool, when you're using the support challenge matrix, there is sort of a caveat to knowing your audience, knowing who you're supporting and who you bring in challenge to. So that, I think that's a factor for sure in making sure the tool works.
Yeah, I mean, and to give you kind of a fair, intro here, like you've got an agency doing well over $1 million a year. You've built up a number of different leaders within your team. You've helped other people get to agency owner. And of course, we work directly together. So I know so much of your journey and how you work with your team. And so it's so clear from just how you went over that you like understand these tools, you know how to use them, but like you talk about the different personality types. And there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. There's the 5 voices, which is a phenomenal tool. There's the Myers-Briggs, kind of those different ones, which you're extremely well versed in as well. And these all kind of overlap. There's DISC, which is another very popular one. And so, like as we get into leadership, having the ability to know, like based on someone's personality style, how you bring support or how you bring challenge. Because you mentioned there might be someone where they're having a really bad day, and you're coming into this conversation planning to bring them challenge, and that could totally torpedo them. And that might be a situation where you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to be a little bit more supportive in this conversation and then save that for maybe when they're in a better headspace. And it could happen the other way around. You could have someone who's like really, really, in a spot where that like at that point you just need to lift them up and you need to help them out. And you know what they say to you? They're like, you know what, I'm ready to run. And you're like, oh, you're ready to run? Well, then here's the challenge. Here's something that you can work towards. Here's some homework. So like, how have you maybe like applied these tools as you've worked directly within your agency?
100%. So there's two cardinal rules that I sort of follow, and I've taken some of this from Brian Williamson, some from Sarah Reineke, and a handful of other leaders within Symmetry. But kind of with a grain of salt situational. The number one rule is, if I call, I listen. If they call, I coach. So
Yep.
first and foremost, if they're reaching out to me, there's a coaching opportunity. If I'm calling, then I'm calling to listen. Now, in that listening, the very first thing is, if I call someone, let's say I call an agent and I say, "Hey, Grant, how's it going?" I'm usually calling to give some sort of celebration. Hey, you wrote 6 applications, great job. Or hey, you got this issued, great job. How's everything else going? What's on your mind? That's it. Anything else? And then from there, people will usually bring up problems, especially if you're in a mentor role. If you call them just to see how things are going and you call to just listen, eventually they're going to bring up problems.
Yeah.
And that's how you can sort of insert, okay, is this a time where I can challenge, or is this a time that I'm going to support? And then the second piece of that, the second cardinal rule is, when I'm talking with an agent, I try to filter everything through, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? And does this need to be said by me right now?
Mm.
So just kind of filtering the content and what I'm going to say. If I call, I listen, they call, I coach. The second piece to that is, does this need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? So that kind of depends on, what I plug into in the support challenge matrix.
And those are huge. I think that one of the points, not to get lost in this, but one of the points is that all of these tools work together, and it's not just like using one at a time. But the support challenge matrix, I think, is one that you can kind of you can start to use on its own. But like the developing others square is huge for developing people that you want to apprentice, right? And bring into your agency that you want to have success in this business. It's probably the way that you've naturally learned your whole life, right? Using the 5 voices to understand how to communicate with people better. That's helped me selling, just knowing, what type of personality trait I'm sitting across from and connecting with the need for life insurance with a nurturer is different than connecting with the need for life insurance with a guardian or with somebody who's a driver personality and a disc profile that we would call a pioneer versus somebody who's more creative. So it's understanding who the people are that you're building any relationship with, whether that's an agent relationship or whether that's you selling insurance to them. Super important. And these tools can help you. I've used this tool a lot in working with clients, right? Because I can gauge when I'm sitting in an appointment with somebody, do I need to bring some challenge to this client right now and say, you guys need to fill out this application. You need to get this done for your family. You know you want to do it. Let's not put this off any longer. You've already been thinking about this for 8 months. So you said, right, let's just get this done. Let's protect your family and challenge them into make a decision. Or do I need to give them some support and give them some love and say like, hey, listen, I understand you want this information. Here's what I'm going to do. Let me take all the pressure off the table and tell you there's a no sales policy here. Even if you wanted an application, we wouldn't fill it out, right? I want you to feel completely comfortable. But let's go through what it is that you're wondering. Now that we've taken sales off the table, let's just be honest with each other. And tell me what it is that you're concerned about. And sometimes just taking the pressure of the sale out of the situation and just giving somebody the support to educate them and to hear them out and to listen and to agree. And you know what? Sometimes those people, either they convince themselves and go like, you know what, let's do it. And you end up selling it right there anyway. Or they come back to you 2 or 3 days later because you're the only person that's done that, that's heard them out and listened to them. And you will pick up that sale later on down the road. So knowing how to use all these tools together, I think is super important. One of the things I want to ask Alek though, is that, so I had to learn a lot about myself before I could effectively use this tool because I like challenge. I love challenge. It's how I communicate. I played sports. I love challenge. I always go out on high challenge, right? And I was like, support, here's a tissue, kick rocks. You know what I mean? I'm just like, that is basically my general personality, but that's like not how 90% of the world operates. It's only how 10% of the world operates, right? And so if I'm only operating in that mode, and that's my general default, I'm going to alienate 90% of the people that I come into contact with. That's pretty difficult to build an agency or sell consistently if I'm alienating that many people. So were there any kind of realizations for you when you were developing to go like, man, I'm really struggling with this area of giving this to somebody? And how'd you learn how to grow in that area?
Yeah. So first of all, I am a nurturer. My first voice is a nurturer. I'm an ISFP if you follow the Myers-Briggs. And for me, like protecting and wanting to help people, that's my go-to. That's what I naturally do. And so I ran into problems in the beginning where I would get agents here. And when I started in insurance, I was broke. Grant helped me kind of get started. Now, Grant being a pioneer, he's helping in problem solving. And you didn't even realize you were doing this, but to a nurturer, if you really want to support a nurturer and challenge a nurturer, you would give them something. So Grant hooked me up with some leads and was like, here's these leads, go and follow exactly what I did. So to me, to a nurturer, it's like, yes, I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to work these so hard, almost perform better on those than I would, if I were to go out and get my own leads. Now, for a pioneer or a guardian or even a connector, another personality trait, freely given is freely taken. So you sort of create this culture of entitlement. You create this culture of, well, what do I get out of this? And so for me, I only knew if I'm going to help somebody, then I should get them leads. And so I created this culture of entitlement in the beginning because someone would come in and say, hey, I really want to do this. I want to make it work. I just can't afford the leads. Okay, buddy, here you go. Here's $200 in leads. Here's $300 in leads.
And so you go broke.
Man, and what that does, 100% of the people that I bought leads for are gone. Not one person that I bought leads for stuck around. And the reason that is because you rob them of the struggle. You rob them of the growth. And so I'm sitting up here in this protector quadrant because I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to protect this person. If they had the resources, they would do it. And the tool doesn't work that way. The tool is designed to liberate people. And how do you get freedom? You got to work for it. There's countries that fight for their freedom. And the same thing applies in business. You got to fight to be free in business. And it usually requires you to make hard decisions, put yourself in a position where you're assuming a lot of the risk, you're putting all the money up front. You know what I mean? That's the only real reason to become liberated in business is you have to take the risk, you have to commit, and you can't rob agents of that struggle. You can't rob the agents of those decisions by buying them leads. Which is what I did. That was my shortfall in the beginning using the tool for sure.
Man, it's so powerful when you think about that, because that was like the protector quadrant, just so everybody's on the same page, is very high support, very low challenge. And I call it the mommy quadrant is what I call it. That's kind of like what your mom is like, it's okay, honey. Like, it'll be fine next time. And you'll get them. You'll do your dials next week, baby. It's totally fine. Like, I call it the mommy quadrant, but that can come out in many different ways, right? Like, it can be I'll get you leads. Like, please stay with me. It can be like, give yourself a chance. Like, I'll do this for you. I'll write the app for you. I'll put it in your name. I'll share your win on my group chat app instead of letting you share your win on the group chat app or something like that. So in that protector quadrant, it's hard to get people to grow because they're not challenged to go through what he just talked about, which is like the hardcore challenge that it takes to be in our business. You're going to have to go through some pain. You're going to have to become resourceful and figure something out and string a sale together from a warm market and get $250 and buy leads. And like, you might have to go through that challenge. But where the support challenge matrix comes in, which I heard from Alek right there, is like, when I challenge them to say, I believe that you can figure this out and you can persevere, and I'm going to have your back as you do it. That's the support side. I'm going to be here for you. And you can call and you can complain to me, and you can call and you can vent to me, but I know you can do this, and I know you're going to persevere through this. It's breathing belief. That's liberation. Like, you're challenging somebody to the highest level to push through their fear to go do something that it would be easier to just like give them a handout for. I think that's really powerful, man. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and another example I think would be, we get agents that call, because we do have a high support within our agency. There's several times where agents give us a call and they say, "Hey, I've got this client, got this appointment coming up in like 15 minutes. Where should I take this?"
It's actually starting right now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I said it 8 days ago.
Yeah. So agents will call and they'll say, "Hey, what carrier would you take this?" And naturally, especially for some really high performers, like pioneers, connectors, people that like want to move the needle immediately. Sometimes we can fall into that trap of being the yes man and just being the answer. And a way that you would transition that into the liberation quadrant is by asking them, "Hey, do you have your underwriting tool open? Let's open your underwriting tool. What medications do they have? What health conditions do they have? All right, let's search felonies. Let's search diuretic drugs. Let's search diabetes. What are the options that show up?" So sometimes taking them through the process also, instead of just giving them the answer, that's, especially if you make that a common response when people are consistently reaching out to you for things, taking them to the resource instead of being the resource.
That's, if you guys want to hear like the perfect example of the difference between the quadrants, right? So high support, that sort of mommy quadrant, as I call it, high support, low challenge, protector. That would just be like, right, this insurance carrier, thank you for calling me. I know you're going to sell this. Go get them. Zero challenge. I'm going to give you the answer. Dominator quadrant would be, you haven't done any work on this? Like, how about you take 15 minutes and go find the answer and call me back if you still need me. Bye. Click. Right? Just like, good luck.
Yeah.
Kick rock. Oh, your appointment's in 15 minutes? Yeah. Thanks for reaching out and being ahead of time. Right. Next time, think about this through and, see if I want to help you. That's your like dominator quadrant, where like the bar is so high. I'm expecting you to come in the way that I want you to come no matter what. The liberator quadrant is what you just heard Alek do, which is like, I'm not going to give you the answer. I could. I know it. You know that I know it. But I'm going to walk you through the process of how you can find this answer on your own. That's high support. But I'm not going to give you the answer. That's the challenge. Like, you're going to come to the answer on your own. And this is how liberation happens. This is how you get people to believe in themselves, that they can find the answer on their own while still supporting them. Such a huge thing that he just did right there. That's the key to unlocking people's potential, is being a liberating leader. So
Well, and you have to think about the other side of this is you have to be in a position where you're allowing someone to challenge you. And I think that's another unspoken part of this because I know we talk about kind of the leadership side, and that's kind of really more the direction we're going. But like, are you someone who is competitive? Are you someone who's excited about what you're doing? Are you someone who's like getting yourself up in the morning? Because if you can give us a little bit to work on, then we can really bring challenge to you and help you get to that next level. If you're someone who's asking us to challenge you by being the alarm clock to get you up in the morning, you're not going to be a good candidate for this matrix at all. So what we're talking about here is we're optimizing people that want to grow, they want to develop, and they have potential. We're not just taking anybody who's saying, hey, can you hold me accountable to waking up and, getting on a conference call? Like, no, dude, you got to hold yourself accountable to doing that much at least. Then we can kind of get you the rest of the way. So I think that's an important piece. And like when we talk so much on this podcast about mindset stuff, or we talk about leadership tools, we do that because how you sell products and how you have a successful business is so little of the tangible little like scriptings and presentation and stuff. Like I really believe 90% or more of this business is between the ears. It's a mental thing. That's why we talk so much about these tools. And so I hope that people are really taking to heart, like, hey, okay, am I someone who maybe as I work with my team, I maybe am in that mommy quadrant, it's really easy to fall into that. I really struggle with that because I want to care about people. I want to love on people. I want to help them. But sometimes it's like, hey, the rubber meets the road where I got to bring them a homework assignment and bring them some challenge. So, I just hope this resonates.
Yeah,
That's
man,
okay.
listen, it helps in sales so much to know this because I can think of tons of people on my team that run into an appointment and they get one person who's just like, well, I don't know if we want to put this in place right now. And they're just like, okay, no problem. It's just get back to me next week. Or like, and they will love and support clients to being broke and having to go, find another job somewhere else when, really caring about your clients is liberating them and understanding like, no, we have to protect your family. Like we've got to get something in place. You just walk through your entire financial life with me. And if one thing happens, if you guys leave that door tomorrow and you're in a car accident, you're going to look back on this and we're going to be like, why didn't we put this insurance in place? And I can't let that happen. I need to put some protection in place for your benefit, not for my pockets, not for my commission, for you. I don't care if it's a $5 policy or if it's a $500 policy. We're going to do something that is liberating your clients, right? Where you're learning how to use support and challenge. And sometimes, there is sometimes that you need to like give some support to your clients. You need to listen to them. You need to understand their emotions and have their back and negotiate a little bit and figure out a solution that can work for them. So I think that you can use all of these tools in sales. This is human interaction and communication. And whether you're building a team or whether you're working with clients, it's the same thing. You're going to use human interaction and communication. So final thoughts from Alek Mires.
I mean, if I really were to boil it down to one kind of essence in liberating when it comes to sales would be if you look at the liberator quadrant, the whole piece behind that is how can I unlock opportunities for this person? And you think about being in sales or being sitting with clients, we're just asking questions. We're just asking questions and we're problem solving. We're finding solutions together to help them get what they say that they want, whether that's peace of mind, protecting their family, whether that's protecting debt from business, whether that's supplementing retirement income, whatever. But it all starts from whether you're leading a client or leading an agent, it all starts with quality questions. I think that's really what it boils down to.
That's huge. That's huge. Well, if you guys want access to any of these tools, a lot of them are available for free on Giant's website. We're going to put that down so you guys can click on that and get whatever access you want. As always, we're going to keep coming back to you with fresh content that helps you sell more insurance. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you hit the little bell so that you know when we release a new episode. We got new episodes coming out every week, and we're always popping out little shorts and tips and things like that. So we will see you on our next episode. Later, everybody.